I started off as honestly a very typical grad student. I did my undergrad in Australia at Monash University. I finished my undergrad, did what we call an honors year because it's a 3-year degree program there, which is a research intensive 8 months. Had a lot of fun, and honestly didn't think too much about the future. I just did what felt good, and went to the next step of what felt good, which is maybe a good thing or a bad thing. But essentially, graduating from my PhD degree, I was told by my, at that time, he was a great supervisor. He said to me, "You have a bright spark in you. I think you'll make it really fun research, but you must go to the US and get trained after this, because that's where you need to go through the high pace, high pressure environment, come out of it, and then kind of go wherever you want after that to start your career in academia." And so I thought, okay, cool. It sounds like a compliment. I think that makes me feel really good. Let's do that. So I interviewed across the world and then picked Boston, the biotech hub. And again, I was mostly flattered, and it was something I was good at, and it just made sense to pursue. Never thought about a career in anything else except for one day I'll be like my supervisor telling my students the same thing, And so I went off to Boston. It was a very high profile lab, and I picked that lab because I felt that so I should tell you this actually. I interviewed in many, many places. I went to 7 to 8 different labs around the world, one of which was a little town called Montpellier in France. And this was entirely paid for by my supervisor. This was his gift to me, by the way, for graduating. And so I went to Montpellier. Obviously, I picked that little town because it was a nice little fishing village by the sea. It was more of a holiday than anything. But there's one particular PI there that I did respect, and I met her some time ago at a conference. She's from New York, but she's married to a French scientist, and so now they live in Montpellier. It's a small institute by the sea. I stayed at her house. She picked me up from the airport, from the train station. I stayed at her house. The next morning, she said, "Let's go do our interview," and basically went into the institute, did my day talk. And she said, "After this, they'll take you out, at night, go have some dinner, chat with everyone. And the next morning, we'll do a concluding interview before I send you back to the train station." The next morning, she takes me to the beach. We get croissants and a coffee. We sit on the beach and we talk about life. And she wanted to know what I was about, what I wanted as a life experience from this next postdoc phase as well. And there was a lot of chemistry. We clicked. Her lab had about 15 mostly women scientists, particularly in the childbearing age, because not a lot of other PIs would be open, or oftentimes it would just be, well, you're going to go on maternity leave, and so you're not going to be the most productive member of our lab, and so they don't take you in. So for her it was like, look, I support women like myself, and we can do it all. We don't have to do one thing or another. And so again, really respected her. She stood for some really, really important things to me. But for me, at the end of the day, when I was contemplating this, it was, the lab in Montpellier, I get her as this amazing resource and mentor. But every, a lab in Boston, I would get my PI plus all the science around me that was also high profile. And so I made that choice to be in more of an environment as opposed to under a particular person. But in all honesty, I think I've learned throughout my journey as a scientist that there is a lot more to life than just my science. And so anyway, coming back to Boston, I did my first postdoc. It went well for the first 8 months, and then it didn't. And there were many reasons as to why it didn't. I won't get into the negative aspect of it. But most of what I felt was that I was not getting the mentorship, and it was not a training period for me. I was no longer learning anything from this experience. And that really upset me, because I thought this was, in the US, postdoc is a training position. You don't get paid very much. And so I sacrificed a lot to come into this training position. And so when I wasn't learning anything, it really affected me. And I found that many people around me felt the same thing. And most of us are foreign postdocs who have left and sacrificed a lot to get to where we were. And so together with a couple of friends, we started to find ways to make sure that we didn't let this cycle continuously repeat itself. How could we give other scientists more information about their training careers? How can we start to get our peers a little bit more proactive about where they're going and what they want from this experience? And that really was honestly the initial conceptualization of Scismic. It started off as therapy for all of us, and a way for us to feel more in control over our careers and our lives at that time. And it ended up being what it is today. Now we provide career development resources for scientists like us. The goal is to make sure that we're all propelling innovation together, And we do that through our resources as well as our job matching platform. I think it's one of the things I am heavily working on, and I think getting better and better at, is understanding that not everything in life is within your control. And there are a lot of things that can happen that make you feel down one week and up the other week, and these fluctuations are going to, they're the constant. Right? These changes and fluctuations in the way you feel about what you do and how strong you feel at these different times are going to be a constant. And I think one of the things that I'm very proud of is, particularly with a startup, is the resilience that I'm building within myself, and the detachment of who I am and what I can do or feel, or how I can best handle something at any given period of time. And that's a work in progress. I'm definitely not there, but I think that allows me to continue and persevere in many of the things I've had to deal with both Scismic, the postdoc journeys I've had, my family, my relationships, whatever that might be that occurs outside of that make up who I am. So that's maybe a philosophical answer. But another thing I'm really proud of is how. So I'm very much into my people interactions, and for me, honesty and genuine interactions are things that I live for, and I sometimes very strongly shy away or find it very difficult to participate in conversations that are not genuine, or don't have that doesn't foster a connection of some sort between two human beings. But I think, and coming into what I do right now, I do a lot of sales. And sales it's difficult to make it genuine. Also, I thought, and so coming in from, I used to have invite people to coffee in I think slightly maybe misguided ways, I don't know, but like vaguer ways of, I'm a scientist, right? I'm a straight shooter. And so when I have to transition into telling people things and leaving it a bit of mystery about why they should have a coffee with me, I struggled. And then at the same time, making it genuine. So I think for me, also understanding that people are people, and there are going to be people that connect with you when you're honest and genuine, and there are going to be people that don't need your services at that time, and that's okay. So I think that's the other thing, kind of learning on the job, and being flexible, but being, remembering who I am and making sure that these things, because I've noticed that when I change who I am to get something done, it's not sustainable. It might be fine for a month, 2 months. It eats into you and it doesn't make you feel good, and you don't enjoy what you're doing. And so you can change the things that you don't like to do into things that you don't mind doing if you change your approach to it and make it a little bit more you. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's okay. You keep trying, but to be confident with the fact that it's okay to do it your way and tweak it along the way is something I'm also very proud of. I think at different times in different times in my journey, I've had different role models, and you almost have to seek out different people. Some people remain constant throughout the duration of the journey, but become important to you. Again, you have to switch them on and switch them off in a way that you're ready to hear what they say, or you need to hear what they say. For me, one of the co-founders of Scismic, actually, Danika, he's a great role model and mentor, and has been a great mentor, particularly to Elizabeth and I for most of our business journey. Like Elizabeth and I were straight scientists at that time. We probably still mostly are, but we definitely have developed some skills in the last couple of years that we have learned from him. And he successfully, and had challenging times, but very successfully now runs digital kind of marketing, advertising platform where he develops technical tools and is part of the branding process. And he really helped us in a very patient way. He didn't tell us answers. He patiently planted doubts and questions and challenged us, and then waited for us to just figure it out. In whichever way. And that has been really rewarding. I still remember when so he's a mutual friend we have a mutual friend essentially. So I didn't know him personally, but I was introduced to him. And we needed at that time just someone to build us a platform. And Elizabeth and I, and we had a clear idea of what we wanted. We wanted a kind of Facebook for scientists, but it had literally 15 different tabs associated to it. Somewhere where you can put your research to be picked up by investors. Somewhere where you would, be able to tell reagent companies and vendors what reagent you like. And then you had your career development platform. It was just everything, all our things all the solutions we wanted to bring to our community, all in this one platform. And Danny and his team were very patient. And they said, this is a lot. There's a lot going on this platform. What are you? What are you trying to tell people? And over the 3 to 4 year period, like I said, he was very patient with us. And we had full-time jobs as scientists at that time. We were doing this on the side. He helped us shape and develop and figure out our mission and tied it into what a way that we could present it in terms of how we would solve a problem for the market. Because at the end of the day, when you create a business, you need to have a market for that business. Your idea can be amazing and it can be the perfect solution to your problem, but if no one wants it or understands that, it's not a business. It's not sustainable. So Danny has been an amazing mentor in helping us shape that thinking, and he continues to be. And it's great now that he's also, we're all more confident with our ability to learn, and we go to him when we need to, and he's always there for us. I even go to him now with some of my personal problems, and he's just a great resource and a great person to interact with. My mom and dad have been, interestingly enough, more and more of mentor figures and role models as well. You kind of go through this phase, I think, where they are, and then maybe they're not for a little while, but they are. But I love the fact that they're growing in their importance in my work life and personal life is actually growing. The significance in that process and their participation in that, I want more and more of. My mom is an amazing people person, and she helps me with a lot of the people aspect of running a team and the intuition that comes with that. That is usually some kind of science that it's just not, you can't, it's a multifactorial reason for why these things happen. My dad has run businesses for many years now, and I don't think I've ever gotten to know that side of him. And now, as I am speaking more of his language, we're able to connect, and I'm able to get all this knowledge and wisdom from him, which is great. But I think for the most part, to be honest, right now, I'm also still looking for other role models and mentors that fill particular curiosities and particular areas of confusion for me. So my PhD supervisor, I think, started off as one giving me, again, his approach was always, go try it out, make your mistakes, fall really hard, then come to me and I'll always be here to help you, And it was not, here's how you do it. It was always, go fall off the cliff, then come back and we'll, patch you up and then set you off on why maybe that happened and how you can avoid that in the future. So he was definitely one of them. I'm kind of blanking out in that middle period. I think I was very lost in the postdoc years, but I found a lot of people where, again, they're coffee conversations. They may be not lifelong mentors, but they're the people you pass, you meet and you have a great coffee, and they feel something that you have doubts with or challenges with at that time. So it's hard to pinpoint names. I think these are the big ones, but there are many along the way that, again, can be transition mentors or transient mentors. And right now I'm still trying to understand who I would like to go and engage with, who I can kind of learn from and accumulate that.